There's a ton of people involved in the home buying and selling process. As you know, real estate agents are heavily involved. They handle all the contracts, negotiating, inspections. They're making sure everything is correct, so that they'll also do a market analysis to make sure the house that you're buying or selling will appraise. So there's a lot of background stuff that real estate agents do, which I think you guys are very familiar with if you watch my channel at all. And then you got the lenders, who they get either all the paperwork, financial paperwork, from the W-2s to your pay stubs. They verify that you're alive, and they're getting all of this stuff together. And then there's an attorney that's involved. Well, what do they do? Hey guys, Patrick Donovan, HB Realty, part of the Johnson Group here in beautiful Savannah, Georgia. And today we're going to be going over the top 5 reasons why you need a closing attorney during the purchase or sale of a property. And if you get any value from this video, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, share this video with anybody you know that's looking to buy or sell a home, because the reason why I do any of the videos on my channel is so that you understand the entire process, okay? And one thing that a lot of people don't understand is what attorneys do in the background while, you know, while the real estate agents, me and the other one, are going through all the contracts and stuff, and the lender's grabbing stuff for your loan. The attorney is doing a lot of stuff in the background. I'm going to talk about it. So do me a favor, share this video with your friends and family, okay? And let's just get right into the top 5. So the number 1 reason that you need an attorney when you're doing the buying and selling. And before I get started on that, just to let you know, I got this from Brandon, Cersei, and Smith. Joe Gerber, an attorney I've worked with for 6 years. He's an amazing attorney. He's done a lot. I've done a lot of deals with him. He's fantastic. So if you have any questions about this, I'm gonna have his information down below. So if you have any questions for him, you can give him a call yourself. Okay, but I'm kind of gonna give you the top 5 reasons why you should have him. So the number 1 reason, okay? They do the title search, and it's probably the most important thing that they're going to be doing, right? Because they're going to make sure that no one else has a claim to the property that you're purchasing. Say you're the buyer. You don't want to make sure there's no one else can just come on the property and say, hey, my family owned this property for decades or centuries, and now I want it back. This will help you. They do the title search, 50 years of requests from the courthouse, 50 years worth of records. They go through all those records to make sure that no one else has a claim to it, or there's no problems with the title. If there's title problems, they can fix them as long as they get the title back early. Now, you got to get the right attorney for that, right? Brandon, Cersei, and Smith, Joel Gerber, he orders the title immediately so that you make sure that if there is any defects, he can make sure that fixes it. But also the attorney's looking at, are there any liens on the property, okay? Because here's the thing. There's a lien on the property. The seller sells the property, okay? The property comes with a lien, so the attorney makes sure that there are no liens on the property. And you as a seller, this is also a good thing too. You may not know that there's a mechanical lien on your home until you go to close the home, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Maybe he tells you about that. You can dispute it, you know, during that time. So they do have an important job when it comes to title search to make sure the home is free and clear from any encumbrances, okay? So that is the number 1 reason why you need a closing attorney. All right, number 2, the closing attorney really coordinates with everybody in the process. From the buyer, they'll give you a call. Seller, they're going to gather information from you. They talk to both real estate agents, and they coordinate with the lender. They're pretty much involved in everything that is happening with this process. They have to send the title commitment. Once they do the title search and make sure the title is clear, they have to send that title commitment to the lender, because the lender will not close a loan unless they get that title commitment. So they're in touch with them. They're in touch with the sellers to make sure they have their payoff information for the lender that they have their loan for, and then they can pay it off. And then they're getting with the buyer's lender to make sure that everything's going smooth. So they are kind of quarterbacking the entire background scene of what's going on with the home buying process. So the coordination piece is huge. They set up the closing date and time, whatever works for you and in your family, okay? They also gather information on the HOA that you may not have. Sometimes, you know, when we're doing our contracts and sellers are filling out community disclosures, okay, they may have old information. Maybe they pulled it offline. It wasn't updated or something like that. The attorney is going to make sure they get the proper information so all your HOA stuff is done. So they have a huge role in the coordination piece, okay? Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. On that, no, yeah. So they make sure that everything's clear. They make sure they coordinate with everybody and make sure the process is smooth, okay? Number 3, they create the final disclosures, okay? When you get close to the end of your home buying or selling process, well, actually for buyers typically, they're going to get what is called a closing disclosure, okay? The lenders get with the attorneys to make sure that they put in this closing disclosure well, because there's a lot of fees in there. When you talk about taxes, when are we closing? How much taxes is that going to cost the buyer and the seller, okay? You got other things in there like the title insurance and all that stuff. They're making sure all the insurance, how much is the insurance company collecting? They're making sure all that stuff is the final numbers. So when the buyer sees the paperwork at the end, about a week out before closing, right, they run through the numbers with the lender, okay, and they talk about every line item in there to make sure that when you're buying a home, you're sure. And then the Alta, that goes out 3 days prior to make sure that everybody's fine with the numbers. So, on the buyer side, you're looking to make sure everything is good, and the seller side, you're making sure everything's good. So they are getting that final paperwork done, and so that when you come to closing, you know exactly what needs to be done. If you're a buyer, you know how much money you need to bring to the table or wire beforehand. When you're a seller, you're just there, how much am I getting net when this thing is all done? So they help prepare all those documents to make sure that there's a smooth closing for everybody. Okay? Now, number 4. This is huge, okay? They handle all the money that comes in and out. Now, they can hold earnest money, which they don't always do. Sometimes the brokerages do that, but the brokerages will send them the money in the end. When you get the down payment, you got all that closing costs and all that stuff. All that money funnels through to the attorney, and the attorney makes sure everybody gets it out. So insurance gets it, the taxes go out, the payoff is done for the seller. They receive your wiring. If you had to get a refund for some reason, say you're the buyer and you put up $10,000 earnest money and you only need $5,000 for your closing, you get a $5,000 check back. So they handle all the money in the transaction. Say there's a lien on the property and it need to be paid off from the seller's proceeds, they do that as well. So they handle all the money in the transaction, and they're governed by the state, their regulatory board, the State Bar of Georgia. So their accounts have none of their money in it. It's only for real estate transactions that's all in the money in there, and the Bar of Georgia monitors that on behalf of the people, okay, to make sure that no attorneys are commingling money and all that kind of stuff, okay? And number 5, and now fraud has been rampant in the past couple years. I mean, since COVID really kicked off, it was bad before that. And when you're in a real estate transaction, let me just tell you something. And I don't care what, I'm just going to talk for Georgia because I can speak for Georgia, but we don't handle Venmo, Cash App for anything when you talk about money and all that stuff. Sometimes you'll get asked for money from people when you're doing the closing or selling of a home, and don't send anybody money without getting with your attorney or getting with your real estate agent to make sure that this is money that actually got to go out, because fraud has been rampant. And this is probably, I would say, in the top 2 of what the attorneys can do for you, all right? They verify that the seller is who they say they are. They also verify that the buyer is who they say they are. Now, that's not so important because they're getting a loan, whatever. But as far as the seller is concerned, there are people out there that see a home that's vacant, okay, and they watch it. It's been vacant for a year. No one's there, right? So what they'll do is they'll act like they're a seller, call a real estate agent. Hey, I want to sell my house on 123 Banana Street, right? You go, okay, cool. He's like, hey, I just want to list it. Can you give me a CMA? And then I just want to put it on the market. Well, it's like, okay, when can we meet there? Well, the seller's like, oh, I live in Virginia, so I'm not going to be there. I just want you to, line it up, sell it, knock it down, right? So The listing agent, okay, how are they supposed to verify that the seller is the seller? They don't meet them, but they want to sell their property. So they list the property, goes under contract, right, with a buyer. Okay, they go through all the stuff, okay? And at the end, towards the end, the attorney verifies the identity. So how do they do that? You're probably wondering. Well, some attorney's office, they have a third-party identifier. So you could be sitting in your bed if you're a seller, get an email saying, hey, you need to verify your identity within 2 hours. They take a selfie picture, run them through some questions, and then they send it back to a database, and the database verifies that you are the actual seller, okay? So as a buyer, this is huge, right? Because could you imagine if you never met the seller, right? You signed the paperwork, you think you own a home, you're living there, and all of a sudden someone comes back and they're like, what are you doing in my house, right? So to eliminate this fraud, attorneys have been going to the next level to make sure that when you're buying a home, that it's actually for sale. So those are the top 5 reasons why you need an attorney in the home buying and selling process. And like I guess said, if you got any value from this video, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends and your friends that don't understand the process and what attorneys do in the real estate game. And I really appreciate you watching. If you're watching this time, I love you to death. Thank you so much for it. Just put a lot of work into this. And with you watching, I tell you what, I'd love you to death. So thank you so much. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.